It's working.
All right. And
oh, how do I get this box away from your face? I want to not see the box. Meeting is now streaming live on Facebook. Okay. Okay, now I can see you. That's much better.
okay.
I feel like
this is exciting. So is it streaming? Is it working? Oh, here we go. Oh, it is showing me that we're live. Oh, awesome. Wonderful. Cool. All right. So let's talk about relationships and sex magic.
Ooh.
Welcome to the show. You guys are here for the very first show, and this week is going to be all about relationships, sex magic, self-expression, abundance, and psychedelic healing. So today's Monday. Did you say something?
I said, oh, wow, I didn't realize you have all of those topics, but today, which one is our topic?
It's relationships and sex magic.
Great. Yes, I'm very excited to see all these other videos that I can tune into on the Dasha Live show coming up for my quarantine in the house. I appreciate you. Thank you.
I appreciate you. So I just quickly wanted to open a container for us. Just do like a little quick couple of minute breathing and a little meditation so that all those who are watching us and those that are going to watch it later live can just get tuned in, as well as ourselves, so we can just speak there now, if that's okay with you guys.
Thank you.
So I just want to take a couple of minutes together and just open this beautiful container for transformation, for us to be able to convey a message of love, of healing, to heal relationships, to help others feel this resonance of love when we are speaking our wisdom, providing tools for those that want to be in an amazing, loving relationship, to attract that into their world, and also to talk openly about this beautiful thing called sex, how it could get you to states of such elevated ecstasy when you really let go of the mind, let go of all the preconceived notions of what it's supposed to be, and really utilize it as a magical tool to reach enlightenment, to reach elevated states of creation, to reach a state of complete peace. So today I want to open the container for that transformation, for us to be able to deliver those messages to those that are ready to hear them, that you can have the most amazing, beautiful relationship of your dreams. And you can have amazing, incredible sex that will transform your life if you can understand what it is and learn how to be vulnerable and ask for your needs, for whatever it is that you need. So today we want to be able to help you attract the kind of relationship you desire, transform your current relationship that you're in, and realizing what sex is, what Tantra is, what magic really is. So I just want to go ahead and open that container for everyone to speak with an open heart, to listen, to be able to look at things from another perspective that maybe you haven't looked at before, to open the container to unconditionally loving yourself. So, hi, Alyssa.
Hello.
Thank you.
Hello, dear Dasha.
Thank you for being here too. We lost you on video, but here you are. Thank you guys for coming on the first show. I know I have to work on figuring out how to promote it and all these, but we gotta start somewhere. So let's talk about relationships first and foremost. I know that my whole life attracted relationships where I wasn't happy until I finally learned to love myself.
Yes.
And now I'm in a relationship where I'm in a relationship that I feel like I'm with myself. And it's been amazing. And I know you are in a beautiful relationship, Alyssa, as well. And I know Mark has been married for many years, so he can help us figure out how to make a marriage last.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. So Alyssa, do you want to shine in for those people out there that are listening that would like to attract their dream relationship into their realm of possibilities? What are some things, some tools we can provide them with right now? Those listening that want to be in a relationship where they feel like coming home, where it's easy, where it's simple.
It's a very good question. So, in my experience, at least, when I started using the practices and tools that I've learned through connecting to someone else through Tantra, actually using it with someone who I could be a partner with rather than a client, opened up doors for me in so many ways, as seeing myself in a completely different light than all the other relationships that I've had way before my current partner. So completely different. So tools and tips from the get-go. As soon as you connect with this person, really to connect with anybody, I think it's a beautiful way. But if you have a connection where you want to connect with someone in the heart, especially, sitting down and meditating to start with and meditating in front of each other and breathing and just bringing the energy to an alignment to start with. Before, when I was dating, I would meet someone at a coffee shop, or I would go to dinner and have a conversation with somebody over a meal. I never incorporated any Tantra until after I use them in my own personal life into someone that I was interested in dating. So it's very, very much a huge shift of reality in mind, body, and soul. And I've been so grateful to be able to work with Tantra, the web of what really creates. So from the get-go, a tip and tool to do some eye gazing, breath work, maybe do a little movement with someone before you enter any type of intimacy at all, to see if you flow. Ebb and flow, because you never want to force it. So the flow is the most important thing.
Okay, so being in flow with the person that you are thinking about dating. Yes. Yes.
Trying to connect with their energy and their breath and the heart space. So opening it up to be very genuine and authentic. Rather than before, when I would go out on dates, I feel like there was a superficialism to our interactions because I wasn't being true to myself. How about you, Love?
Mark, you want to shine in here?
Oh, sure. Not really much of any experience with your Tantra, so I'm here to learn about that. But I can talk about being with somebody for 26 years. And, one of the pieces of advice we got before we were even married was this idea of resolving conflict before you go to sleep and having that commitment that you will never let the sun go down on your anger or your any kind of a conflict that you have, to stay up as long as it takes. And that commitment has been a critical piece to our many years of marriage. Sometimes we can't fully resolve a thing, then we'll agree to work out details later. So that's one way to, like, realize that things are a lot of times more complicated, but with the intention of, you know, don't let the bitterness, stay while you go to bed, because then it just will fester for, long periods of time. The longer you avoid it, the harder it is to kind of dig it back up and work it out. So that was one of our early on commitments, and that served us really well over the years. The other thing that I'd like to share is something I've kind of learned the hard way, which is this idea that, my wife, her love language is more communication and mine's more touch. And so learning that we have different approaches, starting our time off with realizing that our time starts in the morning, actually, and the communication needs to be there all day long. And you can't suddenly think that, let's jump to some intimacy time when there's this gap from her perspective in all the communication that hasn't been there. And this is more than just words. Communication can be, just simple, certain looks. Sometimes you give a look or a light touch. Can be different kinds of communication. So realizing that, that we both need to come towards each other with our different love languages, and not try to skip past the other person's, the thing they need to be kind of met with first. So just a couple of things to throw in there.
Beautiful. Thank you. We all certainly have different communication styles and different ways we show love. This is why this amazing book, The 5 Love Languages, is really, really helpful, because learning someone else's love language and showing them love the way that they understand it, and vice versa, knowing your own love language and knowing how to ask for it, can fix any kind of relationship, whether it is romantic or with kids or with family or siblings. Because there's a lot of miscommunication in love languages. If we don't know someone else's and they show us their love the way that they perceive it, the way that they know how to show love, or we need to be shown love a different way, then there's a mismatch, there's a miscommunication, and there's a lot of room for unhappiness. So I think communication is quite important when it comes to relationships and understanding these love languages. But even before the love languages, it's important to understand yourself, like what makes you happy, like what job or what is your mission, like to go toward your own goals, finding your own happy, instead of being dependent on someone else's source of happiness. Because the truth is, no one's here to make us happy. It's like we find our own happy first, if it's whatever we like to do or our vision, and then we can attract somebody when we are already whole and complete. Do you guys want to chime in on that, if anything's coming up for you?
So hearing Mark's side of how he communicates with his wife, and being able to come to that peace of mind before resting. I'm just taking someone who's had the longevity of that type of relationship where you're still able to communicate in a way that creates a foundation and mold for even more growth and authenticity, and continuing to combine not only word communication, but energetic communication as well. So it makes more completeness in my world.
I mean, very little of communication is verbal, right? A lot
See,
of it
that's
is,
where I get in trouble. Sometimes I feel that I don't want to speak so much and just let our energy flow and breathe, like, especially if I'm in an argument, because I've had that happen where I don't want to try to talk right now. I just want to sit down and breathe with you. So that way our minds, at least I get a little, I'm a Leo sign, so I get a little tempered sometimes where I just really want to calm all the energy down and breathe and come to that peace of mind. But it sounds like before you go to bed, that's already a calm state of mind for that type of communication, or at least it should be. Sometimes I've had fights before bed where I need to breathe.
I mean, there's this other concept that is everyone that comes into our life just a part of ourself to help us realize ourselves.
Oh, yes, of course. That is my mirror. Every time that something happens, it's for me to see my lesson, my life lesson. There's never any blame. Well, I may sometimes, my 3D self wants to blame the other person, but it's not real. My authentic self knows that, all right, Alyssa Marie, this is your lesson.
Mark,
I agree.
Beautiful thing.
How do you feel about that? That your relationship is a reflection of yourself.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add, the idea that when we recognize the opportunities that some of our conflict and some of our pain and suffering actually present to us, we could, I think for myself anyways, I spend a lot of my time resisting the lessons. And so they're sort of destined to repeat them over and over again. I think that as long as I keep holding out for somebody else to change, that's just going to keep hurting me. And when I finally can look at the pain that I'm feeling, and this could be, mental pain or physical pain, but any kind of pain that I'm feeling, any kind of suffering, is there a lesson there for me? And I think when I first started trying to reframe that suffering as a lesson, all I could do is say, I have to learn patience. That's my lesson. And I was in that place for quite a while where it was, I thought I was doing good because I'm trying to learn patience. And that was just the beginning of cracking open some of that work, that eventually you have to realize, okay, now I'm kind of getting the patience down, but there's a lot more there. And the things that I do to trigger somebody or my behaviors, those are going to get reflected back and to me. And so to look at the suffering as just what is the lesson here for me? Yeah, that was a big shift when I could start looking at that.
Mm.
Yeah, it's I finally recently realized that nothing happens to us, it just happens through us. We get attached by putting meaning to what's going on. But when you literally understand that you are transparent, when you are awareness, everything that happens, it doesn't get stuck in this body, it just goes straight through you. Somebody gets upset, your awareness is very quick at realizing that you're being triggered by something. And at that moment, you realize you don't give it any attention because they're just playing out their own story. If you have mastered your story, then you let others play out their own story without attaching, giving meaning to the story that they're playing. Because you're just either a mirror or a wind or a see-through, like whatever you can imagine that you are. You're not a wall that's blocking someone else's story. You're letting that story just kind of go through you. Whatever they said in and out. And that's been just like such a beautiful realization for me, to just breathe through the triggers, literally let them pass by. Because the sooner I know that I can change my mind when I'm triggered about something, the sooner I can focus on things that actually matter to me and keep going toward my dreams instead of trying to prove anything, because there's really nothing to prove.
I'm speechless, I have to say. Thank you for sharing that beautiful expression. I had a lot of visual come up, and allowing it to pass through with a breath of rainbow dust sounds absolutely amazing to me. Let's do that one.
Yeah. I mean, come up with something that helps you realize that nothing happens to you. It just happens. And
it's just passing through for the experience. There you go. It's easy.
the thing is, it's all collective, because we're all collective consciousness, and perfection of all is in each and every human body, but it's all perfection. It's all consciousness. Each one of us has the consciousness. We're pulling from source constantly. So it's like everything that comes to us is just an experience of the collective. All our traumas that are coming up is a collective. All the love is a collective. All the projections are part of the collective. It all gets recycled. All the time experiences the same kind of stuff. So it's like you're attached to the experience, or you just realize that you're part of a whole. You get to experience all the range of emotions, because that's what being human is all about, and let them pass.
Thank you. I'm just gonna do that next time instead of get angry.
Oh,
it's easy.
about the anger. The anger is an energy that comes to you like a bomb, and it's an end result of all the energy that he's been harnessing, and it has nothing to do with the current conversation. It's just something that happened throughout the day from someone else, could be from other people, and the energy comes at you like a bomb, and you think that it has to do with the current situation, but it doesn't. And now it's a collective negative energy that's coming at you. And now it's like, who is Alyssa Marie? Like, how is she going to deal with this collective anger? Okay, Alyssa Marie is going to grab that anger, let it hit her somewhere, feel it. Where is it coming? Chest, stomach, feel it there, and let that anger disperse through the body. Zzz, 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 zzz. Like, let it take a couple of deep breaths. Because what you're doing is you're transmuting the energy of the collective, the anger of the collective, and you're taking it in and you're letting it disperse through your body so it loses its charge with the breath. And then you ask yourself, is this person doing his best? Yeah. Am I taking it personally? Am I being triggered by something? Is it from my childhood? Oh, did I feel like I wasn't good enough because he said that? Okay, I wasn't good enough as a child. I felt like, ta-da-da. Oh, but he's doing his best. I'm doing my best. Different opinions. And now you come back to the conversation, totally relaxed. You've transmuted the energy. You've bent that energy using your own body and your breath. And now you talk from a place of peace. Taking the collective anger and you transmuted it inside of your body, and now you're coming back. You've literally bent energy, because you've taken this energy that was condensed, this anger, you used your body as a vessel to transmute it. You bent it, you changed it, and now it's different now that it's projected out. You're not giving him back the same kind of energy, hence not resolving anything. You're giving him back the energy of peace and love. And the tone of your voice demonstrates it, because you just basically let your body transmute it.
I had an experience like that this morning. This morning I did a meditation that I do sometimes for manifestation of what I would like to create, sex magic through orgasm. So if I visualize what it is that I want to create, something even non-sexual, usually emotion tied to my heart, then I can feel the experience and it comes through. And this morning when I felt anger from my partner, I was able to diffuse it and not let it attack me like I had prior. So, but now I'm adding in the rainbows and unicorn dust to the whole situation. When I breathe, it just is going to make it a lighter experience for the next flow. But I did notice that that energy was able to create this flow where I could project from my heart, my authenticity, and not take the anger to heart. And then everything flowed into this beautiful fairy tale that I'm telling myself in my mind versus what I don't want. So it was to be able to listen to you explain how the energy changes and reconstructs. Thank you for offering that as a visual too, because in the mind, if I can see something shifting, then the stagnancy will go away.
Yeah. Mark, do you have any words of wisdom? Maybe have you practiced that energy shift?
Oh, absolutely. But I did want to add one other perspective, which is that sometimes our behavior can trigger the other person, and it triggers them for something that wasn't us. It was part of their past. But when we're in a committed relationship with somebody, we have an agreement to help each other through these kind of situations. And so it might not be enough to simply do our own work of transmuting that energy. There might be an opportunity for some third party sort of involvement with a therapist or a counselor who you can go to with that particular situation, and they can help either one of you see what those triggers are. Because until you discover that the thing was a trigger, one of you, the other you might think it's just between the two of you. And when you discover that you triggered something from somebody else's past, that other person might have the work to do. That's true. And you can't do their work for them. But you can hold the space for them, and you can also be sensitive to that. So for example, if I put a hand a certain place, that might trigger a past trauma. I'm helping my partner by not doing that touch, even though it's not me. And their work is to, with help from a counselor, discover what that was and do their work to process that and get some healing from that. But it might require that I become aware of those triggers and do my best to not push into them. And that could take a long time because you can only do your own work. But being sensitive to where the other person is still kind of in the process. And it turns out that we also have the exact same things the other way around. It's just we haven't learned those yet. So, but we have to hold each other, space for each other, and be sensitive to those ways that we're triggering them, even when it's not really us. So there's a lot of work there.
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But I just had an aha moment that it is really all us. If you think about it, the grand scheme of things, like even when we are saying like that it's not my work, it's her work, it is still our work as a collective. So it's like once if you have done the work, then by demonstrating of what it's like to be peace, even in the midst of the storm, with enough repetition of being that way, just being, it actually rubs off the other people. Have you ever noticed how people that we spend the most time with start acquiring similar kind of habits that we do, and vice versa? It works. It works even when it comes and even when it comes to anger, even to silly little things like flushing the toilet.
Can you share the flushing toilet story?
So it's just okay, and then we'll dive into sex magic after the story. Yeah, you know how we acquire bad and good things. So I was just always kind of nagging at George for forgetting to flush the toilet. And then, like, a couple months go by, and then he's like, "Baby, why don't you flush the toilet after yourself?" So here I am.
We can't blame.
Huh?
So anything that we use the word don't or can't or shouldn't, then it'll probably come back to us in the back door. We don't even realize it's coming.
Yeah.
But that's what makes it fun.
That's why when somebody's playing their story, instead of trying to teach them anything, it's not for us to teach, it's for them to learn on their own. So for us, it's to just be the mirror and to not display anything back, to let them realize their own story, not try to change them, not try to tell them, "Oh baby, you should be more patient," because they'll arrive at their own conclusion after they're done spinning their own wheels. We're just empty space. So, do you guys want to get into some sex magic and what that is and how we all practice it in different ways?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part. Do we want to what? With sex magic?
Sex magic.
Do we want to try it with you? Is that what you asked? What are we going to do now? Are we going to do a little sex magic?
I will start by what sex magic means to me and the definition of it,
Okay.
and how I'm practicing it, and then everyone's welcome to shine in. So to me, sex magic is literally being able to ask for what I need, whether it is fantasies or different fulfilling moments in bed, and not all of them are even in bed or sexual, is being able to ask, like when I need him to hold me somewhere, push somewhere, just hug, is to be able to ask for what I truly need in that moment and not be afraid, and whether if it's in a sexual practice, to really be able to speak up if I need slower, faster, if I need him to hold me somewhere, and to really be on the same page about the intention of why we are practicing sex. Sex is to be able to get to a state of no mind, where there's absolute and total stillness. And that state of no mind is to me magical, because I have visions that come to me, answers to all of my questions in places where my brain doesn't interfere with anything. And then my body twitches a lot of the time because I completely relax into the experience, allowing the experience to take me where it needs to take me. If I have to cry, if I have to laugh, if I have to scream, or my body wants to twitch. So to me, sex magic is states of no mind, where two people are on the same mission, communicating with each other, especially the woman communicating her needs and coming to a place of stillness. So that's what sex magic is to me. What do you guys?
Thank you. Mark? Or I can go either way.
I'll let you go first.
Okay. So let's see. When I think of sex magic, I think of so many different aspects of how we human beings, how we energetic beings, how we passionate beings here on earth can cultivate energy that is within us and have it play out in all these different aspects of how we create every step of our day. So like, if I'm able to tune in with my energy, I visualize the sexual energy as a coiling of a snake, and the snake is just moving exactly how it wants to. It's not put in a cage. It's not told what to do. The flow just happens. So I visualize that in my body from like the root of my, the root chakra up through the crown. And if I can connect with that energy through, like before I start my day in the morning, through movement, through dance, through breath, then when I go out into the world, versus if I weren't to do it, there's this beautiful novel in front of me of what I see and hear and experience and taste and touch and love. So if I have that alignment to where I'm using it for my own personal magical experience when I walk out the front door, oh, okay, then there's the one with the partner. So when you bring the partner along and he wants to practice sex magic with you, I'm telling you, if you can allow yourselves to flow with each other, at least how I have experienced it through releasing any pressure or needing it to be a certain way, or what my vulnerabilities are, if I'm holding on, if I'm just surrendering to every single little movement, there becomes this beautiful flow I feel with my partner where I don't even have to worry about anything, and it feels amazing. And then of course the intercourse is like a magical fairy tale that I can't even describe in the human English language. But there can be more talk about that too, and maybe at a later time. But that's how I visualize or would like to describe sex magic.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Thank you for allowing me.
Delicious. Mark, do you want to sign in to sex magic?
Sure, I could make a few comments. I think that there needs to be a little bit of agreements about what you, what you want to, where you would like things to go, so that there's not a lot of wondering. So sometimes that takes a little awkward, words to start with, and over time they get less awkward. But just saying, hey, this is what I had in mind up front, instead of trying to guess. I think being married as long as I have, it's been a hard lesson for me to fully understand what consent means within a marriage environment. Because of my upbringing, there was some idea that there was some implied consent that actually wasn't. We didn't both have the same view of that. So that took a long time to work to get to the same place on, and that's easily solved by just using words and conversation. And then you're more free once there's understanding and there's agreement. There's another thing which takes a lot of work on my side anyways, I think, which is this idea of being in attunement, becoming more aware of where my partner is at, emotionally and physically. The more words we use for that, then the more, I think early on we need words because we're still learning, but over time then we want to use less words because that takes us out of the moment. So then it's becomes more natural to just know where somebody's at, a certain speed, a certain, intensity. Those can be, you can start developing more awareness of that. But there's training involved, just like meditation. Early on in meditation, there's some work involved, and over time it becomes easier and more natural. Being in tune with a partner, I think, takes work and intention initially to be able to pick up on all the subtle cues, and hopefully over time that becomes more and more natural, and you don't need as much words for that part of it. So there's some things.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I think wow, that was very useful. Yeah, I think that sex used to mean so many different things to me until I realize now that it is actually a tool for transformation. How many years I thought that it was such a pleasurable thing until I realized how powerful it can transform you. And for me, like all these years, all these partners I've had that said that all my fantasies were too crazy and I was too sexual, um, just really kind of made me ashamed of it growing up. And obviously, I came from a family where it was completely taboo to talk about sex. And God, when I had sex for the first time at almost 18, I was a whore, and no one ever was gonna marry me. So it was just the changing of our times. Now we are more open as a society, as people, and living in America to be able to be more open with sexuality. But it's a tool, and it took me the last couple of years to realize how much power sex is, and how high you can get to such elevated state of consciousness, to literally having DMT experiences, outer body experiences, just like meditating for a long period of time. And it's like when you use the breath with your intentions and communicate your needs, it just becomes one of the most powerful experiences, just like doing any kind of psychedelic that helps you transform your life. Have you guys had any experiences where you've gone and you've had visions? What did you do in order to get to that state of allowing for the experience to take place?
So the tools that I use for it's connecting with breath and connecting, especially solo. If I want to start with myself first, connecting with breath work. And those are just when I surrender, if I can surrender to it, allowing that beauty to come forth. So visions as far as being in tropical places, the colors that I can't speak of, smells come through, and just the emotional state of peace and awareness of my physical body, and allowing her, like there's this gentle, sometimes she's like likes to be bossy, but there's this gentle energy that comes through that just puts me at peace. So it's so amazing that this energy, why I don't understand why we call it sex energy. I really feel like it should be called prana. It's because the word sex, I need that to separate from what this feels like. It's a very different feeling than me having intercourse with a partner. It's a feeling of self-love and nurture and self-acceptance. So that's kind of how that's what's coming through for me right now.
I love that. Yes. It's very much being in your emotional body instead of your emotional body being somewhere out there. It's being completely presence with all of who you are. I think the word sex has been given such a extraneous definition. It's got so many definitions. So a lot of people view it as the intercourse. Others that are awakened or waking up start to realize that it is a transformation tool. Do you have something you want to know about sex and tantra practices, or being in touch with your body?
Are you asking me? Oh, sorry,
No.
Mark, right?
I think that one of the keys for me is to take things slow, to think about our time together. Lovemaking is sort of this long process that starts with conversation. It starts with connection, becoming at ease with each other, and all this time is sacred, and not trying to think about one final moment as the goal, but thinking about all the time, the entire time together as a goal. Being mindful of how tired each of you are, so that this is not really a it was setting enough time aside, I guess, for our time together. I found over the years that there's no formula. I think get the right kind of music on and that's helpful, and then at some point it's not helpful. So there's I guess back to what I said earlier, trying to be more in tune with each other, so that you can kind of I don't know, just be sensitive to where the other person is at. I think that's where most of the magic is going to happen. Be tender and be listening. And I think that there's some work that each person needs to do on their own to come before we even come together, to have kind of calmed ourselves and released some of the busyness and tension of the day. Because if we bring all of that to our intimacy time, we'll just spend all of our time resolving that. So kind of do your own work to center yourself and to let the distractions go. So there's some ideas.
Oh, it's beautiful, Mark. And thank you, Alyssa. Mark, it's 100% true. Everything that happened to us throughout the day, we bring it to the bedroom if we don't find a way to resolve it. And then we spend our time in the bedroom trying to resolve it instead of enjoying each other. Yeah, that's so true. So true. And what I found over the years is that women and men, we think a little bit differently. For women, and I can speak for myself and the women I've worked with, is that we need to have our mind stimulated. Like we carry around so much rah, 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 because women, all we want to do is talk. All we want to do is express. That when the man realizes that the woman just needs a container, an open container to just blah, 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 like to let all this stuff out without any need to resolve it or anything, just to get it out and to just be held still like a child. It takes a strong man to realize it, but when the man realizes it, that the woman just needs stimulation of the mind, the comfort, the slow motion, because the inside of the woman needs to feel secure and trusting that everything is going to be okay. And like, the inside of a woman's vagina is like sponge in there. And when the body's and lets go of the mind, of everything, then the sponge is just like kind of goes around the penis, and just like a flower just kind of goes around it gently, because it all starts with the mind. The body relaxes when the mind relaxes, when you feel at ease, when you feel trusting, and everything inside relaxes, and it's just like a dance of a little flower, or if you can imagine that on the inside of a woman. And it doesn't take a lot of even like penetration to get there. It just takes a lot of communication and trust and letting go and being vulnerable. Have you guys experienced? Am I getting too detailed here?
No, actually, that's bringing up a lot because I can definitely feel the difference when my partner and I are connecting. It does feel like this opening, and when the flower blossoms, the flower allows for so much to be vulnerable. The flower, it's this full, almost like release. Okay, my body is allowing versus there being like, sometimes it could be where like, God, I'm thinking about something that happened throughout the day or in the past, and my body shuts down. I can even feel the difference in how my hips and my whole body opens and arches versus when I'm going through something, I hold my sacral chakra like in a ball. And there's a huge difference in how it flows. Even just the entering, it's such a beautiful experience for it to be open like that versus forced. But me as a woman, I know that I have every experience that I bring to me is in my creation, and I'm never blaming anybody for whatever experience I've had with feeling forced, but that is just what I've had because I didn't allow myself to get there yet. I didn't hold my power and close my flower until I wanted her to open. So it's just a lesson to see how beautiful the flow can be with that ease and grace. That beautiful flower just, if I just think of, I worked at a flower shop and I remember the white lilies were always my favorite, and I just visualized that with the glistening of the ends of the irises that come out, and how when they first open up there's this liquid, this fluid on the end that glistens. When you look at the flower, it's such a beautiful portrayal, like our bodies, we glisten and we allow. So thank you for opening the door for me for description. I felt really yummy.
Yeah, what came up before you share, Mark, is that when we become vulnerable and we allow, because our partner, let's say, like fingers us or whatever, and like really takes this sweet time to help us get out of our head, we let go slowly, and with the power of our breath, we're actually bringing in more prana, more chi, more life force energy into the parts of our body that where the energy might be stuck throughout the day. So when our partner takes this time, because he knows that the woman is emotional and she needs time to get out of the head, it actually allows for the woman to bring in more life force energy, more breath, more oxygen into the parts, into the stagnant energy, and the energy in the body starts to move where it was stuck. And the more it flows and it moves, the more the body relaxes and is able to actually open up to the transformative, to the magical experience of sex, of transformation, because the life force energy is coming, and you release and you let go of stagnant energy by obviously having the whole experience take time and letting go of the mind. That's what came to me when you spoke, Alyssa.
Wow, yes, the mind, it's a tricky thing, isn't it? Well, and we've been so bombarded with all of these images too of what sex is, and having to deprogram our mind of that and having it be more of an earthly experience with, like you said, a flower versus, I think our Western world has misnamed how our bodies can be truly this beautiful lotus flower.
The lotus flower. Yes, and you know, not being ashamed of fantasies, of asking for things that you want that are outside of what we perceive as normal, because we've been conditioned to, you know, live a certain life, marry a person by a certain age, have kids by a certain age. And then when you don't fulfill these milestones, it's like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with you? And it's like you don't know where you fit in the world, or you've been married for a really long time and you really don't feel fulfilled. So it's like, what do you do? How do you change your life if you have these new things coming? And how do you accept that whatever's coming to you is perfect? The experiences that you want to have are perfect. They're all part of the human experience. There's no judgment whatsoever, because it's your reality. You create your own experience. Mark, do you want to shine in here on anything on fantasy related or letting go, or if anything is coming up, you don't have to.
Sure. I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying about, the getting the thoughts out of the mind first. And I just want to add to that, that as a guy, it's important that I'm not just mindlessly giving that space, but I'm actually there to engage as well. And I might be not there to like give advice or feedback necessarily, but pay attention. I know that that's important for my partner when she's sharing that, that I'm actually listening and paying attention. And if she says, "What do you think?" and I have no response because I was off someplace else, that's actually kind of hurtful. And so yeah, giving time to talk things through and express, but also paying attention, being present is I've learned is a really critical step. Um, and I totally agree that these things take time. She can open up more when I've been patient. I'm not rushing, and it's going to be better for both of us when we put enough time in. And sometimes, like you're saying, ask for what you want. Sometimes, that's important to ask for what you want. But sometimes the other person is not up for that request. And so at the same time that we're becoming more willing to ask for what we want, we also have to not take so personally when the answer is no or not now. We have to be able to say, oh, okay, there's just an idea, instead of like, oh, I'm hurt, I'm now going to go, on a drive or something and leave because it was just too hard. So as we become more vulnerable to ask, we also have to become more willing to accept that it's not always what the other person's up for, and when they're not, it's not a personal thing. It's just they didn't want that at the time. So don't take those so personal. There's a lot of work there, and sometimes we could make the other person pay for their no. Like I make an ask, then the other person says no, and then I'm like, okay, well, because you said no, now I'm going to withdraw, and then they suddenly have to now take care of me again. And that creates a vicious cycle that you can get caught in for years and years. I know I did. So I have to like be able to take the no without taking it personal, so that my partner doesn't have to then care for me in that no, and then we just get stuck there. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's when somebody says no because they don't feel like they're in alignment at that moment, then they're actually doing us a favor. Because if somebody's doing something they don't really feel like doing at the time, then the energy that they're transmuting is going to translate. It's just like asking for investments, whatever it is that we ask for, and no, it's just this person is not in the right vibration or not at that time. It's actually a blessing, and we see that not at the moment, but a little while after, that it was a good thing that that person said no for this situation at that moment, because there wasn't a resonance at that second.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed that before. Like I've had clients that my whole body was saying, "Don't take this on," and my mind was like, "Oh, but I really do want that money, or I need that money." And then surely enough, it was like spinning wheels, and my body already knew this, told me not to do it, but I did it anyways because I was listening to this mind. And I realized, just like maybe 6 months ago, that I was never going to question my intuition ever again, because it's not worth it. Because every time I've ever questioned my intuition, the intuition always proves right.
The other thing about a no is only a no in that moment. And sometimes we feel like it's a no forever. And it might just be right now it's a no, but check back another 5 minutes or check back, tomorrow, whatever. It doesn't have to be a permanent no. And sometimes in the moment it feels permanent, but it's good to remember that that's just, I reserve the right to change my mind, 5 minutes from now. And we should let our partners do that as well.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like that because I have had experiences where I felt bad for saying no. So when I can communicate with my partner to be on the same page as me, to make my no mean no and have it be okay, like you said. So that way I don't feel that, okay, not right now, but I feel bad. Or doing it, like Dasha said, just because I want to please versus having it be my pleasure. Because then if I'm doing it just to please, then that energy flows through. So it doesn't create any pleasure on either side of the coin. So might as well just do it when I really feel yes.
Yeah. So it's important, I think, that to inspire our partners, people we love, our kids, that it's okay to change your mind. It's such a normal thing, and it's okay not to decide. And like we always feel bad sometimes, like that we can't make a decision about something, or that we change our mind 5 minutes later. It's perfectly okay. So human nature doesn't make us good, doesn't make us bad. It makes us human.
I took a workshop a while ago called a Platonic Touch workshop. And, I highly recommend it for somebody because it helps you get some outside perspective for yourself. And we started the workshop with learning what consent was and how to answer. And we practiced saying no for a while. And it was pretty powerful because it was for us to learn how to say no, even if it's something we wanted. Practice saying no so that it took the sting off that. And then we practiced having other people say no to us. And it also took the sting off of it because it wasn't personal then. And you did it over and over we went through this exercise for like 45 minutes and rotating around the room and just saying, can I touch your elbow? No. Can I touch your forehead? No. And by going through that process, it really made it like less personal, and just this really is about the other person right now. It's not about me. They're not rejecting me. Because sometimes it's hard to get there with the person that you're so in love with. It's hard to get that lesson. So going through a workshop like that was really powerful. And one of the key points they made was there is no maybe. It's either a yes, a strong yes, or it has to be a no. But the no doesn't have to be a forever no. There is no maybe, because maybes always end up being forced into a yes. So that was a powerful lesson as well.
Yeah. Yes. And I feel like sometimes we put too much pressure on our partners to be all of these things that we want them to be, when they aren't here to do all these things for us. And this is why the universe has been created with many people in it. That if we want to go have like a stimulating conversation that's super spiritual or whatever, that's why we have friends. We can do these things, like we don't have to put so much pressure on one person to be all of these things for us. It's just not fair. So like definitely like no expectations, and appreciating everything as a blessing is a big one for me, and enjoying another person, a state of being by having the other person next to me, instead of having expectations in any area of being, has been a big one for me. So Alicia, did you sign in, or are we
Did I sign in?
Do you want to shine in here, or is there anything you want to say?
I do agree with that very much so. I noticed that I do have that tendency sometimes when it's really my goal and my desire, but I'm trying to project it on them. Like, why aren't you doing that? No, it's really all about me. I take control of my life, and I do those things versus trying to push it on somebody else. And for me to be everything for one person is definitely not part of the game. That's why there's so many different people, so we can share all of our gifts. We have so many different things to share. So if I'm not able to go and share with others, then it doesn't enrich us as a unit, as a partnership. So I want more enrichment, lots and lots of water coming to my growing rose bush. So I don't want just 1 year of roses. I want continual, perennial years of roses. So I want to enrich and come back together and share what we've learned.
So, do you want to tell our viewers you have any offerings or any kind of or any requests of what you need?
What I need right now?
Or if your services, anything that you want to either give people or anything that you're looking for at the moment?
Yes, as far as my offerings now, I would love to start doing some sort of live Zoom video calls. That's something that's on my list. So if anybody's interested in trying out some sort of, maybe let's start with a guided meditation and movement to connect with that inner prana that we call sex magic. I would love that opportunity, and I'm always doing body work for people who I connect with energetically, and since we're in quarantine, we have the opportunity to connect through breath and eye gazing and sound and voice, and we could even do movement over the call. So you can connect with me through my Facebook, Alyssa Marie, through Messenger, and I'll look forward to working with our energies together soon.
Awesome, thank you. And Mark, do you want to offer anything, or is there anything you're seeking from the universe?
I guess I'm not really offering anything right now. I'm just here as a fellow traveler, a fellow dream walker, and I just enjoy hearing from you, Dasha, as always. Just love the magic that you're sharing out there.
Thank you. I love you guys so much. Thank you for coming on the first show. I just want to, I've been talking to a few people that have been sick, and their only advice for me is to keep going, is to keep inspiring and keep doing my thing, because a lot of people are sitting at home, and if we can elevate the vibration of at least one other person that's watching this right now, or our own, or 2 or 3 people, then we've already done so much good. So this is why I'm doing this. And if you want to check out some of my coaching, Unleash Your Magic coaching, or my books or music, then check out my website, Dasha.Love. And hopefully this was inspiring to some peeps, and this was fun for me. So I love you guys for being here, and may your abundance multiply, whatever abundance means to you guys. I love you so much for being here.
I love you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. See you again soon.